Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our podcast Insight Reading Enlightenment, dedicated to sight reading through the lens of historically informed performance practice. My name is Darina Ablogina.
I'm Sebastian Mitra. So today we have for you some French music. We're going to play some Hotteterre and some Philidor, Pierre Danican Philidor. Some earlier French music from what we've seen before with the Blavet.
I see it's written Hotteterre, and his nickname was...
Le Romain.
Exactly.
Yes.
What does it mean?
The Roman.
So he spent some
Was he
years...
Roman? No, he was French.
He studied in Rome.
He studied in Rome. And so he got the suffix Le Romain. To distinguish him also, I think, from his brother, another Hotteterre.
And he was also a flute maker.
He was also a flute maker.
We have a flute from him.
Yes.
The pitch of the Hotteterre flute was a bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 392.
Was it?
So we are going to play today in 415, but normally you would hear it lower in 392.
I thought it was at 400.
I think it's a question of agreement nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Within the early music movement.
Yes. So, what have we here?
We have a mountain of scores.
Yeah, we do.
And we are going to look at the Prelude.
So today we're looking at the second suite from the second book. Great. What do we see?
I see many flats.
Many flats, eh?
It's in C minor. Especially thrilling for a flute player.
I'm sure. It's more difficult, is it?
It's very special. The color of this key is very...
It's a bit dark, no? Flats are a bit wide on the flute? Right, so wide. Okay, good. I know something, maybe, about flutes.
But in general, I think C minor, for me, it sounds a bit dramatic and maybe even depressive.
That's possible. I mean, from my bass line, I see quite extravagant and a bit tormented harmonies.
Why is it so extravagant?
Ooh, we have a lot of numbers. We have some algebra problems here. No, it's quite dissonant. It seems like you have these downward appoggiaturas that are clashing with my notes. Actually, could you talk about... I'm having a hard time reading your line. Why? What's happened here?
It's written in the French clef. That means...
The French violin clef.
The French violin clef. Right. Yeah, that was in use at that time. Mm-hmm. And I read the violin French clef as the bass clef.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe because I'm used to the bass clef.
True.
That's why.
Ooh, and I have a clef problem. I see fourth bar. I have alto clef, meaning my bass line is more of a tenor line, actually.
It is very high. It goes very high.
Quite high, yeah. Ooh, and you're quite low.
Yes,
so we're going to have some interesting...
I have the lowest note, as I can see. That's the low D. So we are moving towards each other.
So I'll try to be careful of you.
And maybe he was interested in this mixture of the flute and the tremolo.
This mixture, you fitting into my harmonies rather than me being below. You kind of place yourself within my chord.
I think the same attitude we can find even in Debussy's sonata for flute, viol, and harp.
Going far.
I think French composers of all the times, they were interested in those mixtures.
This timbral mixture.
Also Messiaen, he was experimenting with organ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. Great. Well, let's try this. I see there's a page turn, and afterwards we have...
We have to react very quickly.
There's a vite. Non, vivement. Lively. Translated. But in C. Not too fast, I think. Well, we'll see how it goes. Let's just give it a try.
That was quite a surprise at the end. This last 5 notes.
Yes, lentement, slowly. It kind of caught me off. I actually didn't really play it so slow, I think.
But we didn't say anything about the style, about the genre.
That's true. I think we can basically say it's close to overture form. There's some missing elements.
The famous French
French overture, yeah.
Why?
Well,
how do you think?
We have a slow A part.
With a dotted rhythm?
With a dotted rhythm. But I think there's a difference, which maybe we can say after. But in the B part, there is a lively movement that is fugue, in fugue form. Not quite fugue, but with fugal entries. And then at the end, which we should have caught, the lentement brings us back to the A section.
Still reminds us
of the first part.
About the dramatic beginning.
Exactly. But there's a few elements that are missing from the French overture. I think the A part is a bit too melancholic. The overture in France, I think, is a big triumphant, maestoso, majestic moment. And here we have the introverted overture, maybe.
But also we are now in the chamber music field. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's logical that the conversation is more personal. It's not a theater piece.
It's not a theater piece. It is not. But there are some examples still. I think of Dupart, who wrote an overture for just 2 voices, for just violin and cembalo, and gamba, or whoever wants to play with me. I think this is a special piece.
So, Sebastian, you brought a very interesting piece today. It looks very nice.
Some Philidor.
So I can see a new piece of music in front of me. It's in E minor. I'm looking at the finalis, at the last note. And it's written Allemande.
It is written Allemande. This is from Opus 1 of Philidor's work. Pierre Danican Philidor.
He was a chess player.
Also.
And he wrote a treatise.
Also. And his entire family were, a lot of his family was employed in the French court since the time of Louis XIII. 100 years, maybe. They were librarians, actually. The Philidors were librarians for the king, for the music. And also they
for the music
copyists.
And for the king.
For the music and for the king, yes.
That's
to serve
noble.
both. To serve both.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian, could you please translate this sentence that's written on the second page?
Yes. It says the bottom stems. So I'll just describe what we see. We have 2 sets of stems, one going up, one going down. The ones going down are sort of an ornamentation, really. So what it's saying is the stems on the bottom are to be played the second time. So he writes a little 1 bar of ornaments. Maybe he couldn't decide which he liked better when he was writing it.
Oh, that's an interesting
So he just put both.
Why not?
Cool. Yes, Allemande. What is Allemande?
It's a dance, part of a French baroque suite.
True. But the Allemande actually at this time was not danced. It was not a dance to be danced, actually. It was a really old style dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
It was just not the fashion. Actually, for many years. And Allemande, even in the 17th century, became a sort of prelude. And harpsichord players such as Froberger wrote Allemandes, but without measures, basically. And they wrote to be played with discretion, meaning to be played sort of out of time.
Let's read the piece. what did you think of the tempo of this piece? For me, it was quite hard to find a proper tempo.
It's true. I think in general, Allemandes, for me, as a keyboard player, are meant to be slow. And I think that there is a difference between keyboard Allemande and Allemandes for melodic instruments.
Yes, and this feeling that I have experienced, the Allemande for me is a, let's say, worried character that is trying to run somewhere and help someone.
Right. For me, it's well, I think every Allemande is different. I don't know. There's different composers that use it differently. Also, sometimes, it can be a bit frantic, but often I think it can be also quite peaceful.
But here the key is E minor, and usually E minor is a very uncomfortable key. Yeah, even since Renaissance.
But you said that we had an uncomfortable time figuring out the tempo. It feels a bit weird. But do you mean more physically for the flute or for affect?
Yes, for affect, for the mood. Mm-hmm. Still, it carries this Phrygian aftertaste.
Yeah.
From the Renaissance.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of this suite just by Hotteterre, who we played previously. He has an amazing suite in E minor that is really, I think he really uses the affect really beautifully.
Yes.
And maybe here it sort of is what it is, I guess.
So we have seen the French Allemande. Now we are going to the Suite Sarabande from the Hotteterre Suite in G major.
La Guimont.
What does it mean, Sebastian? You are my French guide.
I am your French guide. Unfortunately, La Guimont is not a word in French. It is a name. As we saw with Blavet,
it's dedicated to
someone.
Person.
A person. I'm not sure who Guimont is. Someone who inspired or who gave Hotteterre money, maybe. That often the case patronage, I mean, of course. But yes, often these little pieces with names, so we call them character pieces. But it's also a sarabande. Portraits, yeah, exactly. But it's a dance. It's a sarabande.
It's a dance, and it's written in major.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I look at the first bar, and I see a very nice jump in my part. Mm-hmm. It should sound very nice.
I also have a jump.
Oh, but yeah.
Of an octave.
But let's see.
Sorry.
No, it's not this one.
No, I know.
It's another one.
So
That's a very nice little piece.
yeah, it's good.
What
Quite
do you
compact, quite well composed,
I think it's perfect for sight reading.
Yes.
And quite well composed.
Yes.
Yeah, such a pleasure to play this music. Especially together with you.
I feel the same way.
So, we have some nice little ornaments. What do you think about the ornaments? How does it work for you? Hotteterre has a table of his ornaments where he describes. Maybe we can even look at it now.
Avertissement. Voici les pièces que j'avouais promises dans le traité. Anyways.
What does it mean? Could you translate a couple of phrases? Maybe just the beginning.
In this first sentence, he's already referring to his own treatise, actually. And he's saying, here are the pieces that I promised in my flute treatise that was printed last year. And in very true French fashion, this happens with so many composers. They always say, I would have published them earlier if I had listened to my friends who begged me and solicited me to publish them. Oh, it's always this.
So graceful.
It's so graceful. It's, this Sprezzatura, this
noble language.
This noble language. It's
amazing. I love
le gentilhomme, l'honnête homme as well. The honest man, they begged me to publish them. I didn't do it by myself. Of course, he says that although these pieces are written for the flute, they can be appropriate to be played on any top melodic instrument. Violin, recorder, oboe.
Exactly.
Also de suite viol, which is treble viol.
Yeah, but Hotteterre also played oboe.
He also played oboe. I believe he also gives you ideas of if you play it on the recorder, if you have to transpose it.
Right.
Which I believe it's...
And what about the connection of the ornaments with the French language? Do you think it's relevant? This question, I heard it so many times.
I mean, that's a big question. I did a little bit of research on it, but it's such a big topic. Yes. It's very difficult to talk about.
But maybe it's interesting how music reflects the personality of a language or a nation. I'll
try to say two things very quick. One is that at the time, there was a big debate about how suitable the French language was for opera. Right? There was a lot of, I don't know if maybe the listeners know or you know, but French opera, especially du Lit, changes meter all the time to set the text. So the music is always for the text. So you have a text and then you change the meter depending on the syllables of French. And there was a big debate about how French language is too complicated and too unmelodious.
I think it was the same debate about German.
But Italian, of course, is much easier to set because you have a much easier strophic style. And also the rhyming scheme is much easier because most words end with O and A. In French, you have the mute letters. You have all these letters that you don't pronounce. And also, it's quite monotone French. Italian has ups and downs and goes everywhere. And as we mentioned with Blavet, this is a time in which people like to combine the styles. And it's probably also for this reason that you mentioned, is that language is quite important. It's not only the music that they enjoy, but also the language, perhaps.
Yes, the language is hidden.
It's definitely hidden there.
In instrumental pieces.
Definitely.
So the ornaments that Hotteterre wrote for the flute, they are very light somehow and smooth, very suitable for the instrument. It's like a speech.
Yes, and that's also a major part of the melody, right?
Well, technically, they shouldn't disturb the melody, but they bring a certain grace.
They do bring a certain grace, but also some of the melody of French music is actually not the most interesting without their ornaments.
Right.
We'll see this later with Couperin, like in another episode, but Couperin, actually, sometimes the melodic aspects are very...
Yeah, the melody is meant for the ornaments, for the dissonances that come with the suspensions.
Exactly.
How was the basso continuo line for you? How did you feel? Did you feel comfortable reading the score?
Yeah, it's quite simply written, actually. It's quite simply written.
I really enjoyed your line with the 8 notes. Very pretty.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about this is that there's a variety of note values. I have half notes. I have quarter notes, 16th notes, 8th notes, of course, dotted rhythms. But then, also, it's quite clear from the bass line, the Sarabande rhythm.
And from the melody line as well, because we have this jump and sort of we bring up the second beat.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our dive into the French Baroque music. And thank you very much for listening.
Hope you can join. Oh, sorry. I hope we. Oh my God. Am I literally losing my God? And we hope you can join us next time for some more music. If we have a viewer one day, if we have viewers, we'll be like, challenge us. We can have like a challenge.
Yes.
Sight reading challenge.
Yes.
Musical offering challenge. Join us next week for some more fun. Now for a different composer. Yeah, go for it.